found yourself?
Well, I did some work, which I thought was better than not doing anything on the weekend. So it's
Good.
I can't complain that much. It's always about reorganizing.
Yeah, fair enough. What'd you do? Appointments or lead generation?
Well, no, I'm not. I don't have my license yet, to be honest with you. But I went into command and learned some things about that. So that was part of what I was doing, and also integrating that. I mean, integration of that with DocuSign, etc. So I was doing some lessons on through SLM.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
And slowly building my database. And it's interesting you asked that, because I'm getting my license happening in early September, and I talked to someone and they want to list, and they have 3 or 4 months, so which I thought was good, because this listing presentation today might be fun to watch and see.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's it's helpful for all you guys to just kind of see how it works. Make your own accordingly, of course. So, well, we'll give it a minute here. If anyone wants to share any wins or ahas over the weekend, feel free to shout them out. Any questions? You're going to be in and out of camera. All good. Do your best, bud. I'll probably get Zoom bombed here at some point too, so don't worry. It's just part of family life at home. So let's get everything queued up. Does anyone else have anything to share or wins? Feel free.
Well, Chris.
Yes. Hey.
For back a ways, we were talking about that Bolivar Heights list.
Yep.
Well, I just got contact of a potential buyer that's interested, is not scared off by the price point.
Okay, good.
So if it's possible for you to contact me later today, that would be great. I can give you some of the details.
Sure. These are buyers for the house that doesn't want to sell, though, right?
Yes, but remember when we first talked, unfortunately their price point was so high, we both sort of went, nah.
Right, okay. I just thought they didn't want to sell. I think that was more important than the money. But we'll see. I'll talk to you later about it for sure. We'll see if we can pull a rabbit out of a hat.
Second part, just to throw it out there while you're doing the presentation, I've got several exclusive listings that I'm going to be on appointments with today. So anything that might help with that, that'd be great.
Several exclusive appointments today.
Including one developer.
Okay, cool. So you just need a marketing plan for different types of listings and whatnot.
Yeah, it's about 1 o'clock I have with a developer for basically pre-sale for
couple towers?
I mean, I guess all low rises out in Lower Mainland, under 6 stories or 8 stories.
Good for you, man. Well, it sounds kind of casual. Do you have a marketing plan to go in there with, or do you have any kind of presentation?
Not a full out presentation. I'm just having, let's just say I succeeded far enough that the owner and I are having a personal conversation on this specifically and a few other projects they're wanting to move forward.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of those ones where you probably want to bring someone in with you at that point, or soon after that meeting. Say, let's just get a fact-finding mission today because it's a bit late, but you may want to talk to Trevor Street or someone that does a lot of project marketing and invite them to the meeting, because those are, maybe David can attest to why that's important, but those are not ones you want to just kind of let slip through the cracks, because those are career makers, right? So
exactly. I'd like to do it at a higher level, and I do have owners of a couple of development land projects. do have houses on them, but it would be very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that being said, okay, we'll talk about this afterwards.
But the news is just in line with all you say, like, get out to work. I just had a very productive week, but it was about, getting out.
Good for you, man. Congrats. Well, hope you closed a few of them.
I sure hope so too.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Just gonna grab up the drive here real quick for the presentation. Anyone else have anything to share? David, you might want to give an indication of what happened with Trevor when you brought him out in a similar situation, right?
Yeah, Trev and I are new best buds. I'm awfully appreciative for his experience and knowledge, and also his willingness to share. I think I've kept him company on a few of his drive homes, and I've learned to actually shut up and listen and take some notes, as the guy is just verbally diarrheaing awesome information. And I'm like, their last call was, I'm like, dude, you don't have to be taking this time and sharing this info with me, but I totally appreciate the time and effort. And he goes, dude, every year there's 1 or 2 people that come on board, and he goes, if you're somebody that wants to learn the commercial side, the development side, and your boots to the ground, and he threw a whole bunch of Army analogies in. I had to look up because I didn't understand half of the stuff. But he's like, there's money to be made, and he goes, and if you're paying my bills with bringing me deals, which is what we're currently working on, he goes, and you're getting paid, he goes, 2 or 3 of these bigger deals in a year, he goes, they can set somebody up for quite a long time. And I'm actually waiting for a text back from him this morning to follow up on something. So, but yeah, what you guys, myself included, what you guys don't know, somebody else does. So find that person that can give you an answer, can point you in the right direction, can save you a whole lot of time, wasted effort. And like, it's not about pride, it's about getting smart and using people in our circle to help us drive our business.
Well put. Thank you, sir.
That's my rant. I'm out.
Yeah, it was done for the day. Thank you. Yeah, but that is kind of what it comes down to, is not trying to reinvent the wheel when it's already been done for you, and just bringing the heavy hitters to the table to those type of meetings, because there's no point in 100% of zero commission is still pretty big goose egg. So having that closer at the table with you is crucial, and the learning process in your beginning of your career is priceless. And I did this several times, bringing top agents with me when I needed it. Well, a few times, and it paid off. But what you learned in the process has boosted my career and confidence in several ways that you can't. And yeah, good work. Well, let's get rolling today. Keep on track. I'm gonna present here, unless anyone else has anything to share. Entire screen. So welcome back. So everyone, who here took Ignite? Did anybody take Ignite? Did they?
I did a few classes because I really got to be introduced to that pretty much at the end of the program. So I did a few.
Got it. So, any big ahas from it? Did you feel like it was overwhelming? Would you take it again?
I think it was very overwhelming for me because things were coming from every angle that I could not have imagined. I definitely would do it again. But I will probably like to read the material first, now that I have it, before I enter the class, because it really gets into the grip quickly. Otherwise, you always reacting versus being a little proactive kind of thing. So I would love to read the material first this time. Yeah,
I think Amin, Hiroshi and I are talking about it, and it is helpful. There's definitely some great nuggets in there, and Scott, I know Scott Leaf's on the call with us, I believe, still, and he's probably taught it and taken it several times, and we've all taken it 3, 4, 5 times in our career because you just don't pick it all up the first time, and with any class. So yeah, I think there's some real, I got a bunch of stuff out of the one guy the one day I was really impressed with, and I was in and out of it a few times, and I think there is great content, and it's presented, and the format is great, but it's not necessarily, perhaps not being in person, being interactive in a smaller group is a big part of that too. But overall, it does give you some very good foundational stuff for your real estate business, and treating it like a business is the key. And that's what they talk about in there. So good job for taking it. And, we did get some feedback saying that this obviously has a lot of value as well in the way we roll this out. And I think we're going to likely restructure it a bit to slow it down a bit, is what we're hearing. Is what we're doing here is so fast and so much content coming at you once, as well as what the board's offering, what the brokerage is offering, what council is expecting of you guys to take in educationally at the beginning of your career. It's a fire hose, and we get it. And I think we're hearing that it might be best to rein our stuff in a bit and work on a few skills specifically. And then as we're mastering each one, we just add another tool to the toolbox versus just like blasting it all over in 90 days. And then you guys miss 80% of it. So we're learning with you, seeing how it's being the uptake on it. That being said, when Ignite rolls around again, you'll probably get more from it the second time, because now you know what to listen to, and the instructors hopefully will have grown and maybe changed too. So, and we typically run it in-house, to be fair. So this would be like us teaching some of the top agents in our brokerage coming to training center and sharing it with you guys. So good opportunities there as well. Eventually you guys can help to train and give back and pay it forward too, which is great. So let's get going here. So there's the Ignite Ahas. And so we went through the wins. We'll talk about our numbers real quick. They don't have any listing appointments they've been on in the last, we'll say, week. Anyone that want to share listings, closings, deals coming together? We know who you are, but this is your chance to brag and just talk a little bit about any wins you had. You guys are a quiet group today. This is awesome. It's way more fun when you guys engage. So,
yeah, I'll go ahead, Chris. I just wanted to share, I've got a deal closing on Friday coming up. Just going to be following with the buyer. Got a 3-bedroom condo in Langley, ground floor, nice solarium, all enclosed in. It's perfect, what she was looking for. She's got a bit of a physical disability, so didn't want anything higher up. So it was, it was fun hunting for this one. So got that closing coming up on Friday as well. So looking forward to that.
You get keys on Friday?
Keys on Tuesday. Sorry, okay. Monday.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good job, man. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Those are special ones too, right? It was kind of a unique situation too, right? So, yeah, well earned, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, helped out a lot with that one. It was actually, I'll share the story with you guys. So my buyer, the day before subject removal, ended up getting sick and going into the hospital for what was a recurring health condition. So she went radio silence on me 24 hours before subject removal. The day I was supposed to get her to sign off on the subject removal, pick up the draft from her, everything. Didn't hear back at all until 24 hours after the subject removal date. So I was, in constant communication with the listing agent, told him what had happened. This was the third deal that they had that went to subject removal, and the people backed out on it. The previous two, the people just, for whatever strange reason, someone decided they didn't like the ground floor, someone decided they didn't like the color of the paint in the unit, so they backed out, walked away. Ours came down to it, and then I was able to get a hold of her after, and the listing agent. I said, look, some goodwill on your guys' part would be nice. Can we go into the same dates, same price, everything? And they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go in for another agreement. So I sent over another agreement, subject free, because we'd removed the subjects anyways, and she was satisfied. And then they agreed to it within 2 hours, I think. We turned around, had the offer signed, and so now going on the closing on that one. So learned a little bit about when to submit your command documents as well, and learned about a collapse of offer waiver document that you got to get signed as well if you ever come into that situation. So
Sure.
yeah, good learning experience for sure.
And so, scale of 1 to 10, how stressful was that subject removal date without having any contact and it just falling through your fingers?
So I mean, the pressure on it was at a 10, but then I remember having to I remember talking to my wife about this too, being like, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
And it just kind of came down to it that I said, okay, look, I've done everything I could at this point. And I got two choices. Either I could go knock on her door and try to find out what's going on. And I'm going to get two answers. One, she's at home and she's fine and she just doesn't want to go through with the deal, at which point I'm not going to get her to sign anything. Or two, she's really gone to the hospital, or I can't get a hold of her somewhere. So you just got to kind of say, okay, it's out of my hands. I've done everything I've done. I've documented everything. I've got email records. Keep the buyer or keep the sellers in the loop. Let them know. Make sure you're disclosing everything to them as well. And that was about it. I decided if I'm going to hear from her, I'm going to hear from her, and it'll probably be within a couple of days. And let's see. Hopefully, the place is still available and they're still able to go in there. So yeah, having a backup plan was definitely helpful, and that kind of helped keep the stress level down a bit. That here's what we'll do in case it doesn't work.
Yeah, good, man. I mean, that is really the sort of worst scenario possible, is that your client goes dark on the day. I mean, I guess worse is Hiroshi. I guess he had a client pass away between removal and completion last year or whatever. So, those are things where you focus on what you can control, right?
Exactly.
You can't control your client's health or whatnot, and other people's actions and behaviors. What you can control is how you react to it and your next steps. So good. I mean, stayed on track and got it together, and that's an amazing win, man. So congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Feels extra good, I bet. Cool. Good. Those are the ones that keep us on our toes too, right? So we're happy to see you move forward with it. Yeah. So you guys, we're back in this now. I want to see a lot more of you guys on these calls. I know Ignite, everyone kind of scattered, and whether you were logged in or kind of partially in, we were not communicating consistently with you guys as much either. We kind of left you out to just handle Ignite because we know it's a lot. And I wasn't really sure how it was going to run, and we were checking in with people, and it's like probably better for you guys to be on these calls weekly versus that many calls a week. And you still kind of get the same content out of us, we feel like. I'm not saying don't take Ignite. I'm just saying that the accountability in this call is much more important, in my opinion. That I know when you guys say you're going to do something, there's someone here looking at you saying you're going to do it, and I'll find you. So at the end of the day, I just want you guys to know that we're going to continue to do this, and there's a lot more accountability moving forward too, and our coach is holding us more accountable. So speaking of which, we'll roll into the teams here. So let the captains speak now. Amin, Hiroshi, where are we at, buds, boys?
Yeah. If you don't see your name, we've made these teams out of what we call R2. So anyone who's done 2 deals already and have not capped. So I know Thomas, you're looking for your name, but you've capped and everything. So we put them into a separate group, but these are for anyone who's done 2 deals so far and have not capped in. So we got Team Amin taking the lead. We didn't get a lot of people tracking their numbers, so Amin just posted on the chat box the link to post your numbers if you haven't. We get a few people doing that every week, so thank you. Numbers are incredibly important in our business. We have to track how many appointments we go on, how many listings we go on. We can see exactly where you thrive and where you lack through that. So let's say you go on 18 appointments, 9 listing appointment, 9 buyer appointments, and you're closing all the buyers, but you've only listed 1 property in the last 3 months. Now we can really dive deep into and discover, like, work on the scripts of getting more listings, closing the appointments. So, you know, it's like anything that's measurable, we try to track. That's listing appointments, buyer appointments, closings, and then listings taken. Anyway, so Almond's in the lead by about 4 points. A closing is a point. An appointment is a quarter of a point. An agreement is half a point, and a contract written is 0.75. So that's how we track it. This runs till the end of June, so we're closing up, and the winning team's going to get a pizza lunch in the park. So we'll announce that at the end.
You know what I was thinking, and you guys, this is your moment to speak up. I think the losing team should buy the winning team the beer. We'll buy the pizza, but I think a little more skin in the game. I have no problem buying the beer, but I think it would be more exciting for you guys to have to pour the beer for the winners. And I think that would go a lot further in this this challenge, because we're seeing some people put their numbers in, and I'd love to see the winners get a little more gloat, so to speak, or whatever it is. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think that would be way cooler. That also means that you're on your team. You need to call the people on your team and go, hey, we need your numbers, right? So you guys see who's on your team. Just check in. Just, you know, it's a nice way to a little horizontal accountability within the group. Like, we talk to them, that's great. But when you guys say, hey, we're going to have to buy some beer here if you guys don't get your act together and put your numbers in. And I know that people doing deals that aren't putting their numbers in. And that's the unfortunate part, right? So how do you guys feel about that?
Love it.
There you go.
Now, so far, we're on the winning team, so.
Yeah.
That's why I'm keeping my mouth shut right now.
Yeah, well, there's all the more reason to pull up your socks there, Team Hiroshi. So anyway, those beers will taste extra sweet when you guys have a comeback. So cool. All right, so moving on. I like it. We're starting to see some numbers, which is great. And we're actually seeing you guys doing some, like, putting some decent deals through the pipeline too, which is exciting for us, because, you know, it is great to talk about business, but when you actually are seeing you guys do it, it's, you know, we're starting to thrive, and that's where you guys are building businesses and starting to think bigger picture stuff too. Not just like, how do I tie my shoes, but how do I start running with my business and building, hiring, training, that kind of stuff. So we're getting there. You guys have seen or read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and the foundation being, of course, leads, right? You can never have enough leads. And if you have too many leads, you can kind of get into leverage quite quickly. But obviously the closing is where they come in. And so as we've talked enough about leads, we move into listings. And this is what we're going to talk about a little bit more today. And as you begin to create more opportunities, those listings create leads again, and it's just cyclical. And as you have enough of those, then you start to look to fill your pipe with potential recruits to feed them the leads that you're now creating. So this all kind of comes back around, you know, a triangle or a circle, however you want to talk. But end of the day, these are the key elements of your real estate business, and understanding this at a high level. The basics, you know, this one slide here talks about following the model at the beginning of working with the leads and then the listings, and don't try to get creative. Don't try to flip this on its head and work off at the top of the triangle where you're getting creative. Just do the right activities, which we know what they are. We talked about that enough, right? And those will create the leads, which then close listings and so forth. So, but the part of being a listing agent is being purposeful with your time, and it really gives you a lot of time back to go and lead generate more, fill your pipeline with listings, and the buyers will just come, and that's when buyers agents show up in your life and make your life better. You don't drive them around so much. Like, one listing creates 5 to 10 hours of work. One buyer, as you guys have just seen through this last market, can create 30, 40, 50 hours of work. And it's like, drop everything, run them out the door. It's not a good quality of life to work with only buyers. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't, but when you focus on listings, your life is better. And you have the inventory, your phone rings. It's just it's a beautiful thing. So there's 7 different opportunities from one listing you can take. I'll just rip through them. You guys feel free to shout out any opportunities you think as well. So obviously the subject property, the sellers buy with you, kind of a no-brainer. What else is there? What other opportunities are there from having a listing?
People inquiring,
Say it again, Nick.
people inquiring about the listing.
Yeah, so like a sign call, for example, right? Or internet lead that comes in. So what else?
Signage, advertising.
Exposure.
Yield of a listing. So how many, the average should be 3 other pieces of business from every listing you take. When you sell a buyer a home, you sell that home and that's kind of the end of it. If you want to flyer on the home that you sold, you might actually get some more potential leads from the flyering of your buyer's sale. But that's kind of it. Maybe, you know, some bragging on social media will pull some people in randomly, but you can't budget for that. You can't plan for it. With a listing, you can almost guarantee if you do the right activities, you're going to get at least 3 other pieces of business from every listing you take. You see how important it is for the leverage and leveraging those listings into new leads, and then it just continues that triangle, right? So what other opportunities are there with a listing to find new pieces of business?
Knocking on the neighbors, trying to invite them over to have a look.
Like, yeah. So the neighbor who you knocked is also wanting to sell their home. It's like I hit that button and you just like knew it. It's perfect. What else? There's no right or wrong answer. It's okay. I want you guys to think for a minute. If I give it to you, then we're not expanding our brains as much.
Well, I'll also say it's a great way for like a social media, for self-promotion essentially. So, you know, as long as we have that listing up, it's a great way to constantly sort of have a reason to get on, say, Instagram or whatever else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have your coming soon, just listed, open house, accepted offer, sold, possession. There's 6 or 7 every time you take a listing opportunities for a social media post for sure. So tons of content. Yeah. You can even do beforehand, going over the listing appointment, and you're just like, hey, I'm standing in front of this new home. We're gonna go meet with the sellers and excited about this potential to bring, like, just it's endless. So agreed for sure. We talked about buyer calls on the listing, right? So sign call. So you actually have a buyer come to want to buy the home for themselves. You're gonna have to refer it out. It used to be you could double end it, right? But you're still gonna convert them, get them to a mortgage broker, put them on a platter for another agent. They're gonna at least give you 50% if you have an agreement with another agent for a referral fee for 50% or for a buyer on a platter. I would take it. Would anyone else here write a contract for an agent that's or a buyer that's already queued up for my property?
Yeah.
You know what? I will. Call me. I'll get the deal done. So upstream marketing. So where your sellers are moving to. Okay. So now you know where they're going to buy. So now you take their perfect home market and you go and market to them. You can flyer it, call it, whatever, and you have a legit buyer for their next home. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this, Nick. Social media, Craigslist, Kijiji ads, all that stuff. Just you have inventory. People will come to you, right, for your website, all that, and then obviously actually sell the house. So there's 7 pieces of business every time you guys take a listing versus working with a buyer. It's uphill, right? And you can't build a business working with buyers. You can have a job working with buyers, and job pays pretty well, not gonna lie, but you don't have a business. And that's what I want you guys to just switch your heads around right now. Stop worrying about buyers. I mean, take care of them. Look for listings. Like, you are now listing hunting machines and going out and finding listings, and your life will get better. So who you know benefit from coaching? A little shameless plug. Bring them along. Share us. All right. So, all fairness, though, like, I want you guys out there recruiting, telling people about this coaching, and saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you to get some training, because it helps you guys build your downline. It helps you get profit share, which is a legit thing. Has anyone here got profit share check yet? Nick, you guys must have. You're muted, but
I haven't had a look. I'll check with Lynn, but it's we roll it in for team benefits as well. Like, hopefully once open houses and stuff are done and client, but it's an excellent way to add value to the team if you've got one, right?
For sure. Well, on the 21st of the month, every month, you guys should get a check. Whoever is the first one to sign up with KW, everyone else will be below them in their profit share tree. So you guys, whoever it was, the first person, should have any deals that come through every month. You guys have seen some, whatever, a few $100 a month. It's legit money for nothing. And basically every time you have someone join who's a capper, who joins KW, you're looking at about $4,000 a year, which is good money. Like, that's free money. So if you put 10 people, cappers, in your downline, that's $40K a year, free money. You did nothing else for it, but introduce them to KW, introduce them to coaching, get them prepared to be productive and successful, and you invest in them to make sure that they do. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is that we actually want the people in our downline to be successful. You just help them in genuine ways, right? So anyhow, that's why we want you guys to help to recruit to coaching, because it helps us build our business, but it really does give you guys passive income and opportunities for building your team or whatever it is that you want to do as well, right? So you're getting ready to go on your listing appointment. And first thing you want to do is do your CMA and talk to the other agents. Don't just touch base, but actually call them and get the inside scoop and have a conversation with them and know intimately what's going on in the neighborhood and the complex. So when you get to the sellers, you've got this information to share, firsthand knowledge about exactly what's going on. You are on top of the market. You've been well versed in the conversation with the other realtors, and you know exactly how many showings, how many offers, how many, what's been going on. So if you can, potentially preview the competitive listings as well. Go and look at the other homes that are nearby, or at least get as much details as you can on them. Looking up the zoning restrictions, bylaws, anything coming up in the OCP. If you've got strata, knowing more about the actual strata, doing a little research there always helps. The more you prepare for this, the stronger your likelihood of closing is. So this is a quick form.
So going back to that point where you know, where you're doing your you're preparing for your listing presentation in CMA, you call the other agent and you say, oh, you know, how many offers did you get? How quickly did it sell? How did it show? Did it smell like smoke inside? You're trying to get these details so you can really pinpoint the market. And so on the other end of it, once you sell a listing and you start getting these calls from appraisers and other agents, like, take your time and, you know, spend a good 5-10 minutes going over how the property showed, how you found the other comparables, and you know, whether in your opinion you thought the market was going up, going down. Build relationships with other agents in the community too that way, and then they'll speak highly of you. They'll know that you're a professional, and then it's always a win-win just to share some of that information.
Yeah,
I remember doing my first call like that, because I was on Josh's team and I've never called another agent on their past sale, and I was like, oh, you can do that? And I was kind of nervous about making the first call, and it was to Jeff Pennington, who's a very high producing realtor, also happened to be Josh's friend. And he spent like a solid 10 minutes with me going over every detail of the property and how it affected the price and what the buyers liked and didn't. And like I very much appreciated it, and I try to emulate that kind of information, knowledge, and energy to anyone who calls me now.
We're a cooperative industry, right? Like you'll really find that most agents are going to do their best to help you be successful and look professional. That's just what we want out of our industry and what we expect. You said you were going to ask him, Nick, or?
I was just we were just talking about this morning with our team meeting. Allison, who's here, called a very prominent agent who anyone who knows this person probably has had issues with them. And
is it a she?
It is a she, so we won't say any more, but
Double
definitely prominent in the Mission area, we'll say. All right.
Mission MM.
Oh my gosh, who could it be?
You know, only congratulates herself. Anyways, so
I'm sure it's getting windy outside here.
but funny enough, we were talking about co-ops, and I haven't done one, and so we're trying to find some information. Probably maybe lean on Carol or something. But the point is so she asked her because they were selling it, and did they have time to go over it with them, and it was a abrupt no, and pretty much click, and yet bumped into another agent who spent a lot of time. And I don't want to speak for her, but I just thought it's a poignant. It's the difference, especially as agents, when you're dealing with someone who is really curt and shuts you down quickly, to the people that are actively trying to help you and themselves in the deal.
Yeah.
Those relationships are night and day. Like you remember that person when they're curt and shut you down, and just think like that's going to come back. It's there's no way that karma.
Everything comes back.
Yeah.
That's the key. And yeah, you're playing in a very small pool, right? You will deal with both of those agents again. Likely you'll bring the other one good energy and put deals together. You'll do everything you can to avoid selling the other person's listing, right? And trying to not even show it if possible. Like, is that the energy you want for your next, listing appointment? Anyway, totally agree. And I've had many run-ins with her, and
who? I don't know who we're talking.
I could write a book, and it's I don't even work in that area that much, and I'm glad that I don't, because it's a nightmare. Anyhow, I showed her listing the other night. I didn't actually have to deal with her. I deal with one of her client or staff, which is lovely. So there you go. So
can I throw in a quick story that my lovely wife Amanda got from the soccer pitch yesterday? One of the other moms turned into a quick conversation. One of her friends has this person as the listing agent, and she's ready to dump her because she gave the code, the one-day code to clients and just let them go into the house. And she's losing her mind on her listing agent.
Agreed. Not cool. Well, that's like council stuff, right? Like she should be fined and fired and all that kind of stuff.
Did you say tarred and feather? What?
Yeah. Drug behind it. Anyway, moving forward in a positive note, we'll talk more about what you need to get ready for your listing appointment. Obviously, a listing contract with the Schedule A, and it's all pre-populated. Property disclosure statement. I always like going through it in person if possible. It's a lot, and you guys should not be doing this the first time with the clients. You need to be practicing going over your property disclosure statements and your listing contracts and all this information ahead of time with people on this call. So you're not just first time asking what is on the property disclosure statement together with your client, because that's always a really good look when they look at you not knowing what it is and you don't know either. So then what do? You call us, and that just exudes confidence. So it does say working with a realtor here. That's actually the privacy notice and consent, as well as the DORS, the disclosure of representation and trading, or whatever that DORS. So your residential data input form, this is something that you really want to know it ahead of time. And so we've created another sheet in here for you guys so that you can look up these information. So you're not calling your seller 3 or 4 times when you're filling out the data input form going, oh, what's this? What about this? How about this question? And that can just be really awkward, right? Again, unprepared, unprofessional. So this is a listing presentation questionnaire. It's on the wiki site. So you're just going to get as much data as you can on the sellers. The more information you know about these clients, the better for the long term. I would like to know what kind of wine they drink, what are their favorite restaurants, how am I going to like reward them with their closing gift? I want to know more about them. So obviously owners and information sell business, pets, kids, names as much as you can, where they work, ideal timing for listings sold. And now this is the actual data input broken down for you into just like step by step, how many stories, and like you don't have to answer every question with them at the listing presentation, but if there's certain things that you don't know if it has a crawl space or not, you're probably gonna have to awkwardly find that out at some point, not just going off the last listing or someone nearby. So figuring out the year of the renovations, what was done, specify, get in dates and prices even if you can, exposure, and so forth, how the hot water tank, roof, furnace ages are, all these things, right, that you want to add at some point to some sort of a cheat sheet for your listing when you're having people ask you these questions and calling or you're showing it or whatever. So this is all in here for you. Some of it's strata, obviously you're not going to do that, but if you get an example of their hydro bill, that type of stuff, restrictions, you want to know pets and bylaws, that type of thing. Anyway, so that is there. It's under listing presentation questionnaire. So take this with you, just print off a sheet. And I just mark the things I need to know. And then most of the stuff, I know the distance to public transportation and parking. I can figure that kind of stuff out. But some of this stuff is definitely worth showing up prepared to answer the right questions for your buyers or your sellers, sorry. Makes sense? So I had an assistant build that for me years ago and I still use it. So I just give it to you guys for free because I know it works and it makes me look smarter than potentially I am. So we're going to get into, I'm going to do my listing presentation for you guys right now. And then I want you guys to take notes. It's about 15 minutes. You guys are going to then get into your groups and discuss your listing presentation. And from there, we're going to do a little bit of accountability at the end of the call here with our groups, okay? So, where are we at here?
So, Chris, this year, how many listings have you taken?
I don't know, probably 30 or something.
30 listings in 6 months, in 5 months. So you're about 6 listings. And what are your closing percentages?
And this year, I think it's been 100%, to be fair.
Yeah.
Usually we're, I budget for 80% just to be conservative, but I'm usually 90+% at this point. But it also has to do with my pre-qualification. I'm not going and sitting with people that are not serious. And I'm very careful with my time now. So at the beginning, I'd be okay if you guys went out and practiced a little bit on people that are on the fence a bit, but you don't want to go with people that are absolutely not going to sell with you. And that's part of your pre-qualification questions and making sure. But as you get more busy, you don't have the luxury of going out and just educating people without having any chance of them signing a contract. And there are people that I know that I've done a listing presentation for, and we're just waiting for them to get their act together and that kind of thing. But they're not. And if I'm in competition, still 80-90%, even against top agents now. And we just are very good at what we do. So we have a lot of and confidence going in. Go ahead.
So essentially, even if you take the last 2 or 3 months off of the year, you're going to list about 50 properties. If you keep up your 90 to 100%, you got a solid listing presentation here. And that's what I want to really drive home is Chris is sharing his listing presentation where he's closing confidently 90% of his appointments. And so for anyone that hasn't seen this, or if you've seen it again, it's a massive opportunity, and not all agents will share their special recipe like this. So make sure you pay attention.
Yeah, it's recorded. It is recorded, so you guys can come back. And what I would do is I would just take notes. And how I figured this out as I built it. And I hired someone, like I put it together, and then I hired someone to make it prettier in design. And now I've actually just redone it, another one in Canva. I've hired someone else to, again, I edit here and there, and then I make people that have better creative eyes for me, and then I tell them what I like and what I don't like. So we've got a new version of this, but this was fine. This one works great. And it's really just having something. So we print it on a, it's actually width-wise book, not portrait, but it's horizontal. Okay, so just it opens up a little nicer, and it's a cardstock presentation. If you guys are in the office, I'll show it to you. But more or less, it's just having something to leave behind. I have a few talking points to this presentation. I will send it over ahead of time in an email. So I'll send over a pre-listing package now with this, with some tips on preparing the home, some bios, some stats, and then the actual comparable listings that we're going to go over. So then they've looked at the listings, they've looked at the properties that we're going to review together. So they've already seen the insides and the photos and stuff. So a lot of the heavy lifting is done for me before I get to the appointment. So now I just get in there, and I mean, you can add whatever you want to a pre-listing package. You can Google what it is. I've seen all kinds of stuff in there. I don't want it too heavy, but I do want it to do a lot of the questions being answered for me ahead of time, so that when I show up, it's really just building rapport, closing, making sure they know that the marketing plan is strong. And what we're going to do is just talk about dates and pricing and get them listed. So yeah, so rolling out here. This is a little bit more KW. As I built at the beginning, it talks about our company. This is perfect for you guys, right? As you don't have a team yet, you just talk about who you work with. And it's KW. We are the #1. So I will ask right off the bat, do you guys know anything about KW? Have you ever heard of KW? And I just let them tell them, if they've traveled to the States, they probably know more about us. If they've been paying attention at all, we are the #1 company in the world by agent count. And we are also the most productive company in our area. So our brokerage is #1 in production, sold versus ask. You can have all these stats given to us by Ron. But the key here is I just want them to know that we're the #1 company in the world, but we don't brag. And this is where it's like the conversation goes, ooh, and just really calms down when you're like, your ego just gets taken off the table when you say this. This is the neat part, is we're not at the hockey arenas or on the news and waving our big balloon everywhere. We sell properties, and we just work by referrals, and like people that you want to refer to us, more people like you come our way, because we just work with quality people selling their houses. We're not trying to put our ego involved in it. And it's a really neat thing. So that's pretty much all it is. And I just might mention, we're a technology company, and we are heavy into training. We spend more money on training. We're the #1 training company in the world in all industries. So we're very vested in our professional development. And people like to hear that, obviously. Blank slide about KW. So a little bit about my team. I just talk about who we are. This is all kind of getting redone again. So we have different buyers and sellers specialists and visual marketing specialists. I have several people, and I've actually now recreated this to have like my stager, my photographer, my videographer, the floor plan, the drone guy, my mortgage broker, cleaners. Like, all these people are part of my team, right? They're all on the payroll. Let's be honest. Right, so I just come in with this, like, it's a whole page of the people that I pay to make sure that your home sells. So it's a very powerful presentation, and I don't have photos or names for all of them, because we kind of go without a guarantee who's going to be available for which one. But it's a strong show of force that we have a great group of people. So communication. This is the #1 thing I really want to express to people, is that I want to communicate with you in the way that makes the most sense to you. So whether it's text, email, phone call, direct message, wherever you're comfortable is where we're going to chat. For important stuff, we're going to probably have a phone call or face-to-face for more details. If it's a quick response, usually text works well, or we can start a WhatsApp group or whatever works for my sellers or buyers. And if it's like a lengthy, it's usually emails for a document, that kind of thing. So whatever works, again, best for them is how we're going to communicate, and making sure they're made aware of things. And I always use the same example. If there was like a wet dog smell in your house and we need to get that fixed before the next showing, I'm going to communicate that as quickly as possible so that we can change that and fix it so that the next showing doesn't have the same objection, right? So the sellers are always wanting to know where the buyers are coming from, and the reality is most of them are coming from online, and so it's our job to promote it everywhere we can online and market it and produce quality marketing to expose it online, and then to also promote it to the other realtors, because the other realtors are the ones that actually sell to their buyers. So if we can sell it to them, they're then selling to all the other buyers, and a lot of that heavy lifting is done for us. Obviously, don't miss any other steps about door knocking and calling and flyering and putting up the signs and potentially bringing other buyers from other areas. But where we spend most of our time, again, is online. We do a ton of work in search portals and broker websites, search engines, social media, classifieds. We do get a lot of leads from those, actually. We also are still out there banging on doors and calling and prospecting in the street. So we'll do offline marketing, signs, and when we can do open houses, we do special VIP open houses, inviting the neighbors and creating a real energy around the open. When we bring realtor tours through, we actually sell the home to other agents, create word of mouth by, we already know a lot of buyers, so our marketing can often come from our database. Buyers come directly from that. We do a little bit of print media. Most of that is not really well spent money these days. You can do a lot more online, and the returns immensely better. So I try to talk people out of doing a lot of, if they expect us to do tons of print media, you're not getting good return on the investment. But we do, hand deliver flyers when we're knocking, as well as electronic flyers, and obviously virtual tours and video goes everywhere we can. We obviously promote it at our office meetings, and again, just communicating with all the agents and doing our best to sell to the ones that have shown it and seeing what the objections are and if we can handle those. So this is our staging consultation. So it just goes through each room in the house and just giving them some ideas of what to prepare for, making sure things are light and bright and clean and decluttered. And I just leave this with them. I don't talk a lot about it, just make sure that they focus on each of the individual areas, inside and outside. And they just go through this. And again, it's just a leave behind. And so what we do to market the home, so preparing with a professional stager, and then after that, we follow with a photographer. So professional quality photos and videos. The property permits, we'll bring in a drone. I actually just bought one, so I get to play with that now, which is pretty fun. It's actually quite expensive to hire them. I can basically get 2 drones, or 1 drone for the cost of 2 dronages. So now on, I'm the drone guy. Print media. So we have high quality print photography, print media. So it's, we use cardstock and put it into the right venues, whether it's online or into actual brochures or magazines or whatever it accounts for. And obviously a certain type of product, if it's an equestrian type home, then we're going to put it into a higher end, potential equestrian magazines, that type of thing. Floor plans are a must these days. So there's options, whether it's the 3D one. And I find that like condos and the younger buyers really enjoy the 3D. But anyone over 35, 40, they really want the black and white. They want to make decisions based on numbers and data versus this is kind of shiny eye candy. And most people can't really visualize where their furniture is going to fit as well. But we'll do whatever the sellers makes them happy. But I tend to steer them towards the black and white for a clean look. And then obviously magazine quality brochure. So I give them a handout. We have just an example of we've sold, and it's cardstock, and it's got the floor plan on the back, quality photos. They can hold it, and then I'll wave like an MLS listing of like just a proper, full public here versus this cardstock brochure fold out. And it's like, this is the difference in how we wrap your product. And when you buy a nice watch, it comes in a nice box and it comes in a nice presentation. And when you do that, you expect to pay a little bit more money, right? So when money goes into things that we know it actually creates opportunities for people to spend more money on their home. So right now, open houses and realtor tours are not available, but when we do them, we market and promote them and bring maximum amount of value showing the home, presenting in a positive light, as well as getting as many people through and converting them and making sure that they actually are approved and qualified to purchase your home. Again, I mentioned the agent tour. We just bring a lot of agents come through the home. Usually about, a Tuesday morning, we'll get out on the road and we'll look at 8 to 10 properties, and we'll all tour around and look at the properties. And then we get some honest feedback from the agents that are productive and professional in our area. And they are obviously selling to the buyers they already have in their pocket. So it's a really good exposure for your home, and we get some valuable feedback there. So this is pricing it right. And I spent a little bit of time on this just because I want people to understand how important it is to be in the market, not on the market. And when you are priced appropriately at fair market value, you're going to bring in the majority of buyers. They're actually going to come and look at the home. But as you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know when you're looking at a property that's overpriced, you know these things. You have this information now. It's your sellers and buyers out there are just too smart to know that they're going to come and look at a property. They're not even going to come and look at a property that has not been priced properly. So they understand what the value is, and if that's the case, they're just going to swipe on and move to the next, and they're not even going to come look at it. So until you get price in the market, you're going to cut out at least half of the buyers, and we need them coming in to show, and the faster they come in, the more likely they are to write an offer for us. So different types of market, real quick, I'll just rip through this and say, if you're in a falling market, you get the concept of a ball rolling down a hill and trying to chase it and catch up to it. You have to get ahead of it. Otherwise, you will never catch that ball, and you're going to fall and sell for below what your home is truly worth. And it's a scary proposition, and you don't want to be in that road. So if we do sense that the market is shifting, we will let you know as soon as we possibly can in order to be aggressive and price accordingly and make sure that we get ahead of it and are the first to sell versus watching all your neighbors sell around. On a seller's market, you have a lot more time, and you can price ahead and just wait. This can become a problem if you're stale. You have too many days on market, people think there's something wrong. Often in a rising market, people will look to you eventually as the only left. That can take some time. Taking the time on the market, what can happen is if you do spend too much time on the market, you guys get the concept of a stale listing. Well, if you that last listing to sell, people can tend to look past you because they feel there's something wrong with it, right? What's the matter with that home? Why did no one else pick it up? So eventually they start to think there's something matter, and they will not offer as much as true market value if you got too many days on market. And if we're out shopping and I see a property that's 30, 40, 50 days on market, you can bet we're going to lowball it. And we're going to find every way we can to take advantage of that situation. So it looks desperate, and we don't want that. And we'll never let you sit on the market more than 30 to 40 days, depending on what the averages are, because at that point we need to just take it off and refresh and list it again, sharpen the price or improve the condition, whatever we need to do to make sure that you guys show as well as possible and are prepared to sell. So the right price is important, obviously, and the most important part of this slide is actually just the days on market. So the first 3 weeks are crucial. If you've not received an offer in a reasonable market in the first couple of weeks, then you've missed the market, and we need to discuss. And after 3 weeks, if you haven't gotten some decent amount of showings and offers, then we've done something wrong, and either our price or our condition are not lining up. There's a visual here. So I just really want to make sure that within that first couple of weeks, we'll know. The first day, typically, I'm either getting touch bases and calls, and I know we've hit the market right, or it's crickets, and we're going to have a little bit of a slow start, and we're going to need to discuss a new strategy. So when it comes to negotiating, this is my favorite part of the business. I love it. It's what I really enjoy as well as excel at, and take pride in getting my sellers the most money, finding ways to put deals together, but also making sure that we're protecting your best interest. And Keller Williams really believes in making sure everything is a win-win deal. And that's like foundational at our business. The owners, the leadership in our office, we all do this, making sure that everyone does the right thing. And this is on the wall at our brokers, and I just leave it at that. So this is the selling process, and I just asked them, when's the last time you sold a home? And if it was recent, I won't go through too much, but if they've been in it for a while and they can't remember what it was like to sell a home, I'll go through it with them. So at this point, we're just entering into a conversation about your personal, private, confidential information, which deems us to enter into an agency relationship. And so as soon as they're okay with that, we'll send to the DORT, or they can sign it in person whenever you're doing that. After that, we are going to advise on preparing the home and getting it ready for market and how to optimize the amount of showings and potential offers. Once we sign the contract, we move into implementing our marketing plan, getting it out to the public and promoting it, and then we begin showing. And from there, we will show as much as we can in order to maximize the amount of potential offers as they come in. We present the offers on either an agreed upon date or as they come in, depending on what your strategy is there. And we'll then walk through the offers with you and decide which price, terms, dates, conditions matter the most to you, and decide on how to negotiate those back and forth until we get an accepted offer with the buyers. And once those are done, the buyers will have likely some subjects in there which they'll then need to satisfy, going through inspections, appraisals, property disclosure statements, titles, Form D, that kind of stuff. And once they're done, they will remove their subjects, and we get to put up our sold sign and do a little happy dance in the front yard and high five and take some pictures. And from then on, my team helps arrange for the movers, the cancellation of utilities, putting you in touch with your broker, or your notary, or your lawyer, insurance brokers, that type of thing. And we just help smoothly move you along the assembly line until you get to the complete state, which the lawyer will then put you the title transferred into the buyer's name, and you will then, the mortgage will fund for you guys, and you get the money usually a few days later, and then the next day is possession date. So then that's when we hand off the keys, independent on their purchase, obviously. This is your I appreciate you guys. So thank you. And that's about that. So thank you very much for meeting me. And so I always do that first. And then we're going to talk about the CMA and the price of their home and the numbers. If I go through the CMA first and I talk about, okay, here's what your home is worth, as soon as I'm doing this, they don't care anymore. They're like, how quickly can we get this guy out the door? We got to talk business. The husband and wife need to talk about the numbers, and they're not even listening to what you're saying anymore, because you have to do this marketing and your value proposition first, or you've lost out, because they're not listening. They're going, okay, we got $200,000 of mortgage left. We got to do this. We got to do that. Okay, if we pay that off, that's what's going through their head, and they're no longer interested in what you have to say. So it's crucial that you guys do that first. So questions, thoughts?
Realistically, how long is this presentation? Like, you flew through it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But realistically, you're answering questions. Perhaps you're not going through it as fast.
I would say no more than 20 minutes, really. I'm pretty quick with it. I've obviously done it a few times, but their questions get answered in here. And then the buyer presentation, we're actually making a hybrid now, which has both. So it kind of helps just to smooth that process out a bit, because we tend to do a lot of seller buy it. And I don't like having two presentations. I want one that is kind of, here's how we work together, and it's all synchronized. But I don't think more than 20 minutes is a standard. Once in a while, you get some chatty people, or we just kind of go off topic or go down a rabbit hole here or there. But more or less, yeah, it's usually pretty close to 20 minutes. And then CMA should be another 20 minutes. And, you know, so I walk into the house, I meet him, I build some rapport, walking around. Usually I'll just put something down on the kitchen table, and I'm saying, let's walk around the house and talk a little bit about what's going on in the home. And I'll take some notes, and I'll take either my pen and paper or my phone or whatever, and just take notes. And just, so it's helping me with the write up, so I can talk a little bit about when I'm putting it into the MLS data input. But also just, again, it's a chance to build rapport and get to know them better, and, you know, subtle features about the home that only they would know about, right? So,
hey, Chris, one question. After, when you're doing this presentation, is there a common theme or a common question that you see that's always being asked based on just the marketing or the value proposition stuff? Like, everyone's at the same question about something that you're finding?
Good question. I don't get a lot of questions about it, because it's pretty all encompassing, I find. Like, they want to know what we're going to do to market it.
Yeah.
Well, here's what it is. It always comes up as price. So how much can we get? Like, how much think our house was? Like, and then I just tapped the CMA next to me, like, we're getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
The husband's like, just hang on, or vice versa, right? It's like, just let him finish. So,
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems pretty comprehensive. Like you've covered anything that you could really think of when it comes to the marketing and the value proposition stuff. I was just wondering if there's anything you're finding now that people are asking about that maybe we can include in ours. But I mean, it looks like you got everything in there, right? So if they're not asking about anything, then that's a good sign.
I think the one thing I mentioned is we're tweaking a little bit is about the team, like who does what, and so stagers, photographers, cleaners, all these extra people. So I'm just going to make that a little more robust so that they know, insurance brokers, right? Like everything, man. Anything that I consider as part of my transaction. So, here it is. You meet them day one, the key day and beyond. Yeah. Who are the people that are going to touch them in this transaction, and what does your assembly look like? What does your assembly line look like? And so us now, we're like, I really want to make sure that I have an home insurance provider that I support their business, they support mine, we go back and forth with referrals. So I want them to be the person they call for home insurance. I don't care if they already have a home insurance broker. They're still going to hear from our people, and they can at least negotiate. I got a term life insurance financial advisor that's going to sell them term life insurance instead of mortgage insurance. They're going to talk to those people. They're like just all these notaries, lawyers, all these types of people are just part of my assembly line, and they now go on that. So they know these are the people that are going to be in contact with you throughout the transaction.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that kind of gives them the reassurance that, hey, even though you might not know all these people, we've got the contacts, and you can rest assured that we'll put you in touch with the right people. That's
we're talking movers, handyman, painters, landscapers, like you name it. Anyone that they may not need every single person, but you've got it outlined there that they are going to have access to them should it be the case.
Perfect.
Yeah. But that's really usually just like they can't wait to get to the price, and you got to do everything you can to fend them off, because this is the chance for you to show what you do and your value proposition. Otherwise, if you don't know it, you're in competition somehow, and you don't do this. They're like, oh, he just told me a price, and this other guy said he's going to do all this, even if you are going to do it all. But you just didn't show them, or you can't tell them you need to show them, right? We got a really good marketing plan, right? So, yeah, unless it's like an absolute slam dunk and it's like a referral or a past client, then I will sometimes just leave it with them. And this is what I do. You guys know from experience, you've seen it at their house or whatever. So I've kind of skipped for the most part. People still like to hear a little bit about it and then be involved and know what the timelines are. That one game board is crucial. They love it. That's the best thing I've put in my presentation the last few years. I ripped it off. It's McDonald Realty, I think, is where it's from.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you have like a screenshot of that or something, because it's a nice visual to have.
Yeah, and I did it, and then I reworked it in Canva with our words in there a little bit, but more or less it's like that. People really just want to know what the process is. Like Hiroshi and I built one of these a long time ago. It was like the step by step, and it was clean. I liked it, but like this one I saw it as like it's just, I don't know. Anyway, R&D, nobody cares. Someone raise a hand. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's probably naive of me to ask on this one, but you have so many marketing aspects on promoting a given listing. How do you distinguish, or how do you decide which ones of those you will take on for a given listing? Because like you have print advertising, you have drones, you have other things going on. So you may not be doing everything for every listing.
Yeah. So I will not sell the drone to people unless it's a specific type of home, and I want that drone photography for my next listing. Everything I'm doing for this listing is for the next listing. Everything I spend on this listing is to promote to the next people that I want to pick up. And it took me a while. I'm a very economical person. My wife will use a different word. But at the end of the day is that I don't want to spend any money I don't know is going to be a guaranteed return on investment. And it took me a while to understand that any money I spend now is actually promoting me to the next listings. And the more you spend, the better it looks, the shinier the photography, all that kind of stuff. It actually matters, and people are judging you and want to see what you're going to do. And all of a sudden when I started spending money, it's like, oh man, people just kind of came out of the woodwork. So we're like, well, don't be cheap on this stuff. Actually do what matters. And only specific homes need a drone shot. So don't overpromise that kind of thing. I'm not going to put money into a magazine article for a home that is just a standard BC box room. But if it's like a special, unique property and I feel there's value or the sellers expect it, it's something that you need to consider. And before you start spending that kind of money, talk to me or talk to someone else that you think would be a good resource to make sure that that's not a waste of your money. Because some sellers are going to ask you to do all kinds of stuff. And I'll tell you what, if they're going to price it properly, I don't really mind. I'll spend whatever, as long as they're pricing it properly. But if they're wanting to try the market and they want you to spend a truckload of money, like, you got to really question your business model. So
since this presentation has all encompassing aspects of what you will do to marketing, so this must be a piece of conversation to have, that these are the things that you will do and these are the things you won't do, right? For this given listing, or is it customized to each listing?
I tell them we can do everything and decide on what the listing needs. And, in all fairness, I do spend pretty much the same amount on every listing. I do the floor plans, I do the staging, I do the photos, I do the video, I do virtual tour, all that stuff, because they expect it. But I also charge a premium commission. So
that answers it all, I guess. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's a really good question, for sure. Cool. So let's get into our accountability groups. We're going to join our teams. Maybe you guys can talk individually. What are you looking for, David?
Your green presentation.
It's not in there. It's not in there.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. That's
okay.
Proprietary.
I see the fancy haircut for you.
No, the one, like, the thing is with that one is actually it's for my team, so I feel like I owe my team a certain level of exclusivity, we'll say. So even though this is the old one, I probably will put it in eventually, but let me get one more presentation ahead of you guys, to be fair. So, but I mean, you can see, you can take it and rip it off. I'm like, so here's what I spent. I think I hired these guys. I got a thing on the name. It doesn't really matter. You can get someone with any kind of digital design. I think I spent $800 or $600. So I spent the weekend kind of templating it out, like what I liked. And then I spent $600. They put it into InDesign. They sent it back to me. I had a couple tweaks and it was printable. And that, I asked them for the editable version. I had to kind of negotiate with them because they wanted to continue to make edits. And every time I had to tweak this or that, it's, $100 here, $100 there kind of thing. And I didn't want that. So I would actually this time just do it in Canva. The woman I have who's just recreated this for me did it in Canva, which anyone can edit. You guys can play with a Canva account and make this pretty. But again, don't spend a ton of time, and definitely don't spend your daytime hours doing this stuff. This is a project. You guys want to make it nice, but I'd rather you paid someone who's really good at it a couple $100 to help you do it, or whatever. You trade for beer. I don't care, however you get it done, but get it to the point where you're practicing it. But you need to help. You need to build it, or at least understand what the touching talking points are in the presentation. And then you're going to write out a script and you're going to rehearse it. And then we're going to go through it together until you can't get it wrong. And that's where you guys are going to feel so much confidence going into a listing presentation, because you can't wait to show it. You can't wait to share it, right? Versus like, oh God, what happens if they ask me this? And I want you guys to just like be hungry to go show this to people. So that's the key of having a good listing presentation is that it really does, once you nail it, you're no longer hearing commission objections. You're no longer, in a 50 or 60% conversion ratio. You're up to 80%. Like, your time is worth more money. You're taking more listings. Your life is better. So get your listing presentation, nail it, and be a business owner, not a buyer's agent. All right. Give people a second. How'd that go?
That was great.
Yeah, we had Nick Johnson go over his listing presentation and fired off a couple objections, and kind of chatted about how these meetings generally go. Nick did a really good job, and turns out his closing ratio this year is 100% as well. So he's buzzing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allison mentioned you guys built it in Canva as well. Yeah. Nice and easy, right?
Yeah. And I kid you not, like a lot of the copy is from someone else. I did create it, but it's, you know, we took the points that we actually stand behind.
Yeah.
And as a team, we'll build on that. But, you know, cut the head off of whatever you're trying to be. And stick your head on it.
Yeah, and Alvin, to answer your question, Command does have a couple templates, but I think Canva is just so much more user-friendly, and it just looks really nice.
Is Canvas the one where you hire someone to do it, or is it just something you do it on your own?
You know, so I'll reiterate what I said. I was actually chatting about it in our group. I actually went and bought like a $20 template somewhere online, and then I built it out to the level I was comfortable, got all the content into it, and then I sent it over to these guys for a final kind of tweak and lining stuff up and making it nice in design as the software that they use. But then only certain people, you have to like buy an InDesign software in order to edit it. And I was like, man, and I bought it. I was like, this is stupid. Like, I want something cleaner and simpler that anyone can use. But anyway, you can go and just buy like a built out template, which is a lot cleaner than I think than the one in Command, to be fair. It was actually, you know, pretty nice. I didn't have to do it, you know, shopped around for a few photos, and you can get free photos online, or you can, you know, it's worth spending a couple bucks to buy a photo here or there if you really want a nice one in Vancouver or whatever you're going to do, right? But most of the stuff you can get for free anyway. So Canva, you guys, anyone can use Canva. It's pretty user friendly. It takes a little bit of time. But you guys are going to start making flyers and brochures and stuff. You probably need to, at this point, understand how it works to a degree. You can go to Command and it's done for you. There's a design thing in Command that works okay. It's more or less Canva, but not as good and not as user friendly. So whatever you guys want, Canva's free. You can get more paid stuff again if you want, but keep it simple, I'd say, at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's very powerful for like Nick to present to us, to the group. You know, I would say that every time you guys do that in this group, you are like quadrupling your confidence and your skills in front of a seller, because we all know what you're going to say. We all expect, we all are, again, it's a safe group because we're like, hey, that's good. And we're going to share and give each other honest feedback. And that's what this is about, and would only be the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, if you guys can do that in here with, you know, a group of 3, 4, 5 people, and you guys can confidently and present and hone those presentations now, you're going to be at that 100% soon. You're going to close everything. You're going to get more commission, no objection handlers, no commission objections. Like that's what this is for. So take the stuff, if you like, out of the Command presentation, stick them into a Canva one, take the stuff you've seen in mine. And like Nick mentioned, like, do what feels right to you. If you don't want to talk about drones, or you don't want to talk about realtor open houses, or whatever it is that you don't feel like you're going to do as part of your standards of service, don't offer it.
Yeah.
But maybe you got some extra stuff that you want to do. And, you know, Mickey asked a good question. It's like, well, I don't think there's anything else I'm missing. If there was, I would absolutely stick it in there, and I'm fairly confident we could find someone that could do it for us. You know, we don't talk a huge amount of social media. We do a really good job of social media, but I don't talk about it as much as I probably could in my presentation, I suppose. Probably one thing we could add to it, which I just said that out loud and I'm going to make a note.
The one thing I just want to add is it actually stuck with me with Hiroshi's approach to even doing like door knocking and stuff. Is I have a tendency, just out of my own disposition, to talk, like to talk the issue. You know, I have that level of confidence, but it's an annoying habit of I can't shut up. And now I have 2 comments in my head, which is Chris telling me he never wants to see my head on a bus bench, and Hiroshi telling me to shut up. And I will say that, you know, especially in listing presentations, it doesn't have to be an hour-long diarrhea of talk. You can get to the point and let them decide. And, typically we're in the same ballpark, just so you know, about 15 minutes.
Yeah. You lose them after that. And if you're not engaging them, does that make sense? Are you following me? Is that where you see that? Whatever. If you're just, like verbal diarrhea in them for 20, 30 minutes, they're like, I didn't come over here to get talked at, or I didn't have you over here to talk at me. I want to be part of a conversation. So yes, you do your presentation, and then the more engaging it is, the more you're like checking in with them, the more it feels like they're in a conversation, even though you're doing a majority of the talking, right? And that's okay at that point. But when you're doing the fact finding and you're doing all these other things, you're shutting up and you're listening. You're asking great questions and you're just confirming what they're saying and responding accordingly. But yeah, there's a lot of them doing talking because they're going to talk about their motivations and all the other things that if you're there telling them how awesome of an agent you are. I'll mention this other thing in my presentation. I don't know if yours is in there, Nick, whatever, but I don't say anything about what my stats are. I don't talk anything about who I am or what I do. I leave my ego as far out of that presentation as possible. Also because I want my team members to be able to do the same thing. And if they have to brag my numbers or something else, that doesn't make sense. And I don't want them feeling like numbers isn't important. It's the relationship you're building. It's the trust that you have this strong marketing capacity to do a good job for them. But I don't need to tell them how many homes I sold or what club I made or whatever. It's like, I want them to know that I care and I can do a good job and I'm professional and it's going to be polished when they bring their home to market. But you can do it. You can do the stats and all that stuff too. And some people really think it matters. And by all means, it does matter to certain people. But if they want to know about it, I'm like, hey, look me up, right? Like, or let's talk about it. And then just use your KW stats if you're new, right? Use the actual productivity and all the things I kind of mentioned before. So that's one thing I'd mention about that is some people have like, one of the guys I learned from, I'll just say, is Peter Carlton. His presentation is like 60 pages long. And he sits at that house like 2 hours until they either die of boredom and signed by just like, it's a war of attrition. So who's gonna buckle first? Either they're gonna sign or he's just like sitting at the table waiting for him. And like, that's not the type of presentation I want to be at, nor do I want to give up that kind of time. So, but he literally has like, I think it's like 50, Amin, you were on his team or you've seen it at least. I'm sure you can attest. It's just like, so like killing trees. He's supporting the logging industry. There's so many, anyway. So you can do whatever you want with it. Create your own version of this, but keeping it short and sweet. A gets your time back. It's purposeful. It's a conversation that way. There's a lot of benefits to it. But that's about it for me. And for you guys, I think real quick, I'd love for you guys to get your presentations started. I'm not saying they have to be polished and perfect, but this week we'll work on it. Next week we'll come back like Nick did. Next week he presented. We'll talk about it. We'll get you into small groups. You guys are going to practice this. You're going to continue to practice it. And then this month, we're going to have our listing presentations done by the end of June. Okay? So when you guys roll out in July, you're going to have a presentation that is dialed. You're able to present it. You're able to handle objections within it and know it like the back of your hand. And if we can do that this month, I think it's a win. I could go through the next 3 classes, the next 3 Mondays, and like overdo it with you guys, but I'd rather you guys come out of here with a presentation. And then we're going to move on from there. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay. So yeah, well, Carla's got the calendar going as it is, but as far as you guys are concerned, we're just going to slow this down a bit. And I want you guys to work on the presentations this week. If you have questions about it, reach out. And next week we'll do what we did here and get you into small groups. I think it was fun, good energy, supportive, and that's about that. So if there's anything we can do to help out, let us know.
And remember when you're, don't practice on clients. Don't wait till that phone call comes in that, a friend of your friends has you over at the dinner table for a listing presentation. Like you have to be practiced by then. So practice in these rooms, practice with each other as if you're on a real listing appointment before you go on an actual listing presentation.
That will happen. Like that's not if, but it's a when it will happen, where someone says, come on over, and then you're literally dropping bricks out of the back because you have not prepared this, right? And that is not okay. And that's not like, that's, who, can you guys sense that stress right now? Just think about it. If someone called you over to the house and said, hey, come on over, I got a $2 million home, I'd love for you to be the person to market it, what will you do? Can you show me what you're going to do? Just like breathe that in for a minute. And you go, okay, that's a lot of money to not take this seriously. And that will happen. That phone call will happen. It's not when, it's not if, but when. So having that set up now, and it might only be a $500,000 condo, it's still $10,000 in commission, right? And it's gonna be like, maybe you get it, but would you have anything else in your day? Who here has worked in a career where you can go to someone's house for an hour and make $10,000?
Legally? Or, oh, never mind.
Yeah, Davis passes. So yeah, I'm not kidding you. There's $10,000 at the end of this presentation for the one that does it properly, and that's what this industry is, right? And dialing it now, this means as soon as you're done by the end of June, you have this good and it's up and running. It means you can do this every week, and every opportunity is like, yeah, that's awesome. So now it deals with my buyer presentation. All right, now I can just do it for more leads and just honing all these other skills. And then it's just like this assembly line is really going to come together nicely for you guys. But the two biggest things here are just the confidence of being able to say, I'm coming over, I'll see you at 4 o'clock, and you know you got it ready to go. And maybe it's 80%, but we'll take that. So, all right. Anyone have any questions or ahas from any of this? I'll let you guys go early if.
I have lots of ahas. It's amazing. I mean, I have so much to learn. A few quick things. In your presentation, I love 2 components. One was beginning to end process. And the second was how to price it right. I think you had some sort of a grid there. That was fantastic because it helps the client understand that I don't have to over or underprice it kind of situation. So I love that. And then next, that was very daring for you to say kind of cancel anytime on your front page. I think that was pretty bold and awesome because it makes it easy for somebody to kind of dip in and say, okay, I'm going to try an egg because if it's not right, I can cancel anytime. So I loved it. One question, is there this recording available? You said there was something in the beginning, there's something like that. Where would I go for that?
It'll be on the our YouTube channel and then on the wiki site. So
YouTube channel, okay. Because I'm not on the wiki site yet, but I'll look for on the YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Good feedback. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and, you know, just to say, like, at any point in time, if someone's not happy with you and they're trying to fire you, let you go, and like, you only want to work with happy people.
Yeah.
And like the energy it takes for you to try to keep a client happy that's not happy, yes, try to repair the relationship. Like, don't like just let it go. But at some point, it's better to let it go and move on and work with people that you want to work with that aren't negative and taking away from you. Because here's what happens, and I've had this happen a few too many times. That you go to the next appointment, or like you don't even get on the phone the next day because you're down, or you don't come to the next meeting with good energy, and now you're literally going through 2 or 3 other clients that would be great clients, advocates, and potential like referrers for life. You just don't know who you're missing out on by trying to keep one jerk happy or working with someone that's draining your energy, and with any relationship in your life. But so you go out there and you work with the people you want to work with. They're going to attract more of those type of people with you, and your life is quality. Everything about working with the right kind of people. So if they're not happy, let them go. Right? It's like trying to chase the wrong type of relationship, we'll just say. So focus on people that are respectful of your time. One of the guys on my team last night, he called the guy a couple days later than what he said he was going to call him back, and the guy reamed him out. I'm like, well, that's a blessing, right? Like, that's how he's going to treat you for not calling him back. What's happens if he doesn't like get subjects removed or something, right? He's just going to like, you're going to have that energy in your life. So you might as well work with people that respect you and are going to be positive and understand that maybe you're not the only person in their world or whatever, right? So yeah, but I set that up straight up out of every appointment. You know, if you're ever unhappy, please let me know. And I'd love for the opportunity to fix whatever's gone on so that we, take responsibility for it and we can fix it. But if you're unhappy and you don't want to work with us, like, we're not holding you into a contract. Like that woman that you had that conversation with, Allison, that will keep you in a contract for a year plus. So,
I was going to say with that particularly, I don't know how that's even legal. Like,
it's contract.
Yeah, but even some of their other stuff, because if they do new builds, if they represent new build,
yeah,
you can't sell supposedly with anyone else for like 2 years or something. So to me, that's very sketchy.
Yeah. Well, she got a very good lawyer, and she writes her contracts very skewed to her benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's what's wrong with the industry in a lot of ways, but it's unfortunate. Anyhow, yeah, that's about it for me, guys. If you guys have anything else, I'd say this week is going to be, next week, is career visioning, which is, they call it the CV on the calendar. So I talked a little bit about it with you, Nick. We should actually have a little bit more detailed conversation. If you guys are on any sort of path of wanting to build a business, if you guys are in this world of real estate and thinking that you want to start a team, have leverage, have anyone else in your world, career visioning is how you start that process. It is by far the best class I've ever taken at Keller Williams. I don't know who the instructor is, and that will make a difference. But at the end of the day, I think I've taken a version of it 7 times now, and I learn more every time I take it. It is so powerful about how to train, how to hire, how to find talent, how to train talent, how to lead talent, how to motivate talent. All these things are crucial to building a business. And as I get better at, I'm close to wanting to teach it myself as I've taken enough time. But what I realize is that every business needs this. If you have a plumbing business, if you have anything, so as soon as you get this mindset of your time is worth X amount of money, you start thinking differently about how you spend your time in your real estate business. So once you can figure that out and you get that should just supercharge you to okay, well, how many freaking leads do I need to get this many listings to start getting leverage, right? Otherwise you're just working for, sole proprietor, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're okay to just work in your real estate business, you can just stay there and make good money. And like Hiroshi is a perfect example of someone that has created a really good lifestyle using real estate just without leverage. He just does it himself, and he was built for it. He's a unique human being. I was teasing about it the other day because he does paperwork in his sleep and does it enjoyably, which I don't think it's something the matter with him. But the point being that it's you can absolutely do that. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you have the desire to build, and Nick, we talked about this, you guys are starting a team, you really need to understand the hiring process and using the KPA to your advantage, right? That's a great tool. That's one of the best tools I've ever seen as far as personality assessments go. It's really good for realtors especially, but it's good in general. You guys should be using this on your spouses. Dave, what yours and my spouses came back as. Anyhow, the point being, career visioning is next Wednesday and Thursday, the 15th and 16th. And I don't quote me, I think it's 15th, 16th, it could be 16th, 17th, but whatever it is, I think it's 15th, 16th. It's awesome, and I would strongly suggest you'll usually pay $600 to $800 to take it in person. I don't know what the price is yet. It's priceless, so if that's what it is, pay it. Dave or Nick, David, likely anyone else you guys are wanting to build. I always bring people on my team that I feel like are a good fit because they're starting to think about systems and stuff, and that's really what that course is. So get signed up for it. It probably will be a lot less because it's online, so I hope it's more economical. But the other great one this week is Danny and James Garbutt. Danny Dumas and James Garbutt are on Wednesday instead of the office meeting. So if you guys want to hear some people that do it at a high level, what they're talking about will be Well worth your time on Wednesday at 11. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, the office meeting is pushed to Friday now. Yeah, because of that on Wednesday.
Yeah, high level conversation there. Great, talented guys for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check those out. Anything else? We're here for you for the week. Guys, go get some new leads, opportunities out there, money in them streets. So have a great week. See you Wednesday at the thing, or next Monday for some good presentations. Go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.